What's up everyone, my name's Hako. Welcome y'all to another video on my channel. Today I will be talking about my Victory Road competitive team. The exact team that I used to win the first ever German Victory Road tournament. I'll firstly go over all the different matches, narrate you through them and how they went, and then later on I'll go into detail on the team, how I built my players, how I built the team passives, and all of that. If you enjoy this type of content, feel free to leave a like and subscribe to not miss out on me doing more content in this type of style. And yeah, feel free to leave a comment down below what type of team you play or you plan to play. And without further ado, I'd say let's get right into the video. Editor Haku here. While I'm editing this video, I noticed that just cutting all of the gameplay together might not be the best choice. So let me first explain how this whole tournament thing works in the first place. This tournament was held in double elimination. Double elimination means there is a winner's bracket and a loser's bracket. If you lose in the winner's bracket, where everyone automatically starts, move on to the loser's bracket and can fight your way through, even if you've already lost, and the winner of the loser's bracket will meet the winner of the winner's bracket in the big final, right? So you can imagine that like everyone having 2 lives, basically. And the tournament is over once there's only one person left with their 2 lives. So yeah, so much for the tree. I think I'll put in an example as well to show you that, hopefully. And second editor Haku here. One thing I forgot to mention are the tournament rules, of course. So for the rules for this tournament, I've put a screenshot right here, so you can read through them in time. That is what was allowed, or rather not allowed, in this specific tournament. And now let's actually move on with the matches. So looking at the team, this is what I ran with. I played in the Stormridge kit and badge, which probably is the least interesting thing about this team. As the formation, I've chosen 4-4-2 Diamond. This is a strong formation with 2 strikers up top. As you can see, they're of different elements. Hakuri of the wind element and Goenji of the fire element. We have a solid 4-player midfield of Tenma, Shindo, Shinjami, and Meiya, and a nice backline of 4 of Ichirota, Soso, Kirino, and Kinako. For the tactics, I've chosen Cavalry Advance, which gives you a 30% AT boost in the opponent's half, or a 30% DF boost in your own half. It also gives you 10% move speed. Now Titan Wall is the exact opposite. In your half, it gives the opponent a 30% AT debuff, and in the opponent's half, it gives them a 30% DF debuff, while also decreasing their movement speed by 10%. Flame Fortress is just the universal defense tactics. Inside of the Geoglyph, it gives you plus 40% defense, and the overall effect of it is that it also grants you 10% keeper points, which is something that will scale much higher with this team. Going over to the team bonuses. The most prominent ones are listed right at the top. I of course have the 50% Justice. That is a given. I think anyone should play 50% Justice, since it is just free stat boost. I've also got 18% off when winning a focus or scramble battle, Team Tension Plus, that's applied to one of the managers. I've got, on gaining possession, since I'm playing the counter playstyle, midfielder focus value plus 10%. I've got Team Shot AT plus 13%, and Goalkeeper KP plus 70%. Now you might think that this is very wonky, that this might not be the best thing to run, since the goalkeeper won't touch the ball within 15 seconds of you gaining it back, right? But the opposite is actually quite true. So let's firstly go over how I split everything. As you can see, all heroes that I play have Team Shot AT counter passives. I chose this for a reason instead of the Justice heroes, simply because Tenma is so good of a player that I wanted to have him as a hero to always have an edge over the rest of midfielders, and Goenji is simply the best hero to oppose Hakuryu that I obviously had to play. Right, there's no way Hakuryu is not going into my team. For the bench, I've just chosen complementary elements with Badab and Sakurazaki to complete the attack. But how do I exactly get all my passives? Well, Justice is for a great part in the players. As you can see, all of my players have been rolled for Justice. For midfielders and defenders, I tried to go for Focus, but unfortunately I landed with a bit of Scramble. Except for this Kazemaru, who's really nice. As for the strikers, or well, the single striker, since he's a Justice player, he can't have triple own shot AT. So I've given him 2 own shot AT passives and 1 focus passive. This is far from optimal. Like the whole team is far from optimal, but it's been enough for me to run this. On the coaches, I'm running 2 Justice passives on Unmei to make up for the lack of Justice heroes, and then a triple on gaining possession boost Keeper KP. On Hikaru, the main manager, I'm also running 2 Justice passives, bringing me to 50.5% on the dot, and then the rest has been filled up with when winning a focus or scramble battle, team tension plus 6%, and then we have Kageyama and Senno. While Senno is there exclusively to give my midfielders focus battle strength upon gaining the ball, since that is, you pretty much can't evade a focus battle in midfield. There is usually at least one, so this is really nice to have, or at least it felt really nice to have. And then Kageyama is going all into goalkeeper KP, giving me another nice 25% goalkeeper KP on top. As for the players, for the goalkeepers I've gone with Kaosu and Genda. The reason I've chosen Kaosu and Genda instead of the obvious Endo and Tachimukai is that I just wanted to be a bit less predictable. Most people are running either a fire type striker or a wind type striker. And since type advantages for goalkeepers aren't that good in the first place, I figured why not just use that to my attention and try to neutral everything out. My backline has 1 player of every element with Kazemaru, Soso, Kirino and Kinako. They're all in the respective highest tier for defenders, with Soso being the only one that even towers above the rest. In midfield we've got from the highest tier Meiya and Tenma, and then as complementary midfielders, since they were Justice archetype by default, Zonark Shinjami and Shindo Takto. On the bench, we've still got a Zonark Nishiki to, cover in terms of elements. So if my opponent plays a lot of Fudos or has a lot of non-wind midfielders, I can bring a Nishiki for a nice change. But with Meiya and Tenma being around, Nishiki is a difficult choice to play in your starting lineup. For the movesets, I'm a big fan of Particle Accelerator, simply because it does not have any type weakness. You will find Particle Accelerator on every single one of my defenders. Then I've also given them a dribbling of their respective type and a defense move of their respective type. Of course, this really harms them when they have to face, say, a player with a type advantage against them, but then you still hopefully have Particle Accelerator to help you out. They also all come with a hyper move. Kirino and Kinako come with the Miximax that they initially have. I've given Soso and Kazemaru Ironclad Guardian. You could argue that something else would be better than Ironclad Guardian on Kazemaru, but I've run well with it so far, so I'll keep on to that. On the midfielders, I've gone a bit different. I've chosen 2 dribblings, one of the same type and one of the opposing type. So for Meiya, that's Aikido and Meteor Shower. Again, all of them have Particle Accelerator, and all of them also have a long shot in their moveset. That is just whenever the goalkeeper's low KP, or I just want to get the ball away from my goal, I can bend out a long shot, 60 tension on those midfielders, 70 tension on this midfielder, and just be good to go. Particle Accelerator again is a void type block that can also block shots. So if I'm facing opposing long shots, Particle Accelerator is there to cover up. Now Shindo's moveset is a bit different. He does not have 2 dribblings, and neither does Shinjami, but that's simply because their Abby Learn boards just don't allow for that to happen. The hyper moves I have on these players are Mate Griffon on Shinjami, the Lover's Female on Maya since it's a relatively solid cash-in for a midfielder, and I also couldn't be bothered to farm more, and on Shindo I've left his Miximax. For the striker with Hakuryu I've gone with 2 shots and a real skill, because chip shots are actually insane to evade opposing castle walls. I've gone for White Hurricane, which also eased off some farming, but can also serve as a shot block if needed, and an opposing element 85 tension, triple boost, which is a long shot. Because I don't know, I like long shot guys, okay? The one other player I want to talk about, other than Nishiki, who has the same type of moveset as Shindo, with Mate Griffon, a dribbling, particle accelerator, and a long shot, is Yuichi. See, I planned to play this Yuichi in defense, but the matches ended up being somewhat difficult, or rather close, so I actually haven't gotten to use this Yuichi a lot. It's really fun to play though, I promise. I have used him in viewers matches or just private battles outside of tournaments, and he is really fun to play. So that is the team that I used. So moving on with the match, we can see he has Hero Endo in goal as well as a Hero Fidio up front together with Yukimura, Shadow and Tayo. An interesting attack, let's see how this plays out. This here is when Gohan misplaced the first time. He moves out with Endo, and we're there with Tenma using a hyper move that easily wins against his, leaving his goal entirely defenseless. Very important block from his Kabiyama. With the type advantage, he takes out a very strong shot that would have surely led to a goal. That is already enough. Tenma with the cavalry advance shoots with over or almost 3k, giving us a 2-goal lead over Ultra Instinct. We switch Shinjami with Nishiki for more power while he switches in Alpha over Fideo. So let's get into the second half. At this point, he's unleashing a flurry of attacks, putting us actually into the defense for once. But we're still able to keep our goal safe. This is where we use a sneaky long shot from Nishiki, all the way through the defense. We just got the ball a little bit earlier and there's no defender in the way. He also has no tension to block this and can't place a castle wall, so this is what leads up to our third goal. This is near the end of the match. We take the ball in his own half, Miximax immediately, and firing off another strong shot onto the goal. We've got some more attacks here and there, each of us do, but that is the end of the match. That is what it stays at. Since the matches are always too lagged, we have to play another match against Ultra Instinct, so let's get into that. We get a bit of access here, a long ball to Hakuryu brings us through the defense, and now we're just shooting off a triple boost onto the goal. It doesn't seem like it will score, but due to the elemental advantage of Hakuryu, this is our first goal in this match. Following us quite a back and forth, until we get into the zone again. Having built up a technique combo and bypassing Kirinu with Shinjami, we enter the zone and fired onto Tenma, who's already scored a lot, but this time he's going for an assist. All that Shindo needs to do now is finish it, making it 6-0 in total for us. We keep up this strong performance, putting the ball into the zone on Goenji. We could go for the goal here, but I've seen a Hakuryu on the other side, so I decide to pass it over to him right in front of the goal. What could go wrong? This time his Kaviam isn't there to block, and with a chip shot we can bypass the wall, leading to another secured goal. Shortly after, the game ended. There were some internet issues from Ultra Instinct's side, unfortunately, leaving us with a 9-0 victory in the first round. What a first match. Our round 2 opponent was Linus, coming in with a very strong team of Badab and Fubuki as heroes. Good block by Sosu here, giving us the counter passives to activate and also stopping Linus from taking early good damage. Somehow he pulls us out of the zone with Kazemaru, but we move on by passing him in the focus battle and entering the zone ourselves. The first half ends goalless, with neither of us really taking any damage on our goalkeepers at all. We've been able to block nearly everything from one another, and it helped that we were both running counter KP passives. The second half was more furious. We got put on defense quite a lot, but near the end of the second half we had a chance. Gonji was fry on the right side, and Hakuryu immediately changed it over to him. That block might have saved him, but the shot passed with 118, giving us another opportunity to score. This shot would be the cornerstone for the result of this match. We might not have scored, but we did some really considerable damage. And now our Tenma was getting through because of the Miximax, bypassing Teres in the focus battle. Free on goal, he took the shot and scored. 3 minutes before the end of the game, giving us a 1-0 lead over Linus. And that was the end of the first match. We were 1-0 up in the first leg, but the second one would not be any easier. Here we got outplayed. Each of us took a lot of damage instantly into the match, within the first 10 minutes even. Lino stayed on the attack, firing off shot after shot, but our defense didn't budge that easily. In this instance, we barely live on with less than 1000 KP left after that Wolf Legend. Somehow we managed to keep the first half without conceding a goal, but the second half was just about to begin. And we weren't going to stay without conceding a goal for that much longer. Here though, our Soso comes in, barely making the block in time, and reducing a very dangerous shot down to almost nothing. Here is what I'm most proud of. We entered the zone with Goenji, but there's seemingly no way to get the ball onto him. We can't really shoot with Hakuryu, he doesn't have enough power to make it in, especially past the wood-type goalkeeper. So I decide to just pass it around, I ignore the open course. I felt a bit like I was doing Grand Luster in that moment. Passing the ball back and forth in the zone, without hesitation. Not even having anyone trap the ball. A killer pass from Hakuryu eventually finds Goenji, who goes right for goal. His Soso cannot place the wall in time, and no tactics or no awakening that he has left in store can stop him from conceding a goal here, doubling our lead and giving us a 2-0 advantage over him. Unfortunately, we weren't going to stay without conceding. A long ball finds his butt up, who's entirely through, no defender behind him, and a death spear easily strong enough to bypass our chaos. Closing the score gap and making it only 2-1 with about 10 minutes left in the game. But nothing more came of it. The match ended, and we took home a 2-1 victory. On to round 3 we go. Our next opponent was Fan. He had a very interesting team playing two Matsunos. I respect the individuality. His heroes were Fidio and Fubuki, both Justice archetype. And Fidio especially was dangerous, being Forest type against our Wind type goalkeeper. So let's see what comes of the match. we get a really good attack in here. Gonji makes his way through, but it's just barely not enough. His goalkeeper survives on like 20 KP. That's where I decide to risk it. I go for a slide tackle and get the ball, and just fire off a death rain all the way from my half with Shinjami. His defense can't react in time, giving us the lead in this game, scoring the first goal. Before halftime, he gets in one more attack. His Matsuno shoots with Yakimochi Screw, but that's not enough to score just yet, so he gives it onto Fidio as well, going for that additional elemental advantage. He doesn't stop there. He uses Odin's sword to chain it further, trying to maximize the damage on my goalkeeper, and giving it back to Matsuno. We do have a Kirino there in time though, so we're able to take a bit of power off, using Particle Accelerator once again. He goes for a curve shot and hence evades my well-placed Soso in front of the goal. So our only option here is to go for a Keeper's Grid, because 2700 is a bit too much damage to take. With that we can comfortably defend though. He gets a soft breach, bumping him to 4100, where goalkeeper still lives on for the second half. This is where Fan gets the better of us. A great pass through from Matsuno to Fubuki, and it's 1-1, the game's tied. Fan stays on the offense. We haven't really gotten a shot off ever since he switched goalkeepers to Endo. He stays in the zone, trying to pass it around, where wall placement is actually good for once, blocking Fidio's next attempt with another Particle Accelerator. This is where Fan gets a little bit unlucky. He decides to risk it and go for a power charge. But he fouls, since those moves have a high foul rate. He loses his Justice, which costs him 50% AT and TF in all aspects of the game. That of course is a big loss for him, but nothing more comes of it aside from him not being able to score another goal on us. And just like that, the first leg ends. It's a 1-1 tie, so everything's to play for in the second leg. We start off by taking the ball really early. We send Tenma through and immediately go into the zone. His goalkeeper KP buffs are active, so we just go for a normal shot and decide to put one fatigue stack on him. The first half ends pretty eventless, it's still 0-0. With only 1 minute left in the game, we go for a death rain, shooting it from all the way in our half once again. His goalkeeper counter passives were not active at that time, so he has no choice but to take 1000 damage straight to the face. And that ends the first half. We switch in Genda and Sakurazaki, correctly predicting his goalkeeper switch to Endo. Immediately into the first half, we get a shot off with Hakuryu, right in front of the goal. His Endo is helpless, conceding easily and giving us the 2-1 lead over Fan. I paused it back here because I'm suspecting Hakuryu's offside, but I might have played around too much. While trying to shoot, his Johnny comes in to steal the ball. So we fail to extend our lead in this situation. And that ends the match. We lose the last focus battle, but the time's already up. We win the second leg 1-0 and take home a 2-1 victory against Fan. Our next opponent was Glass, the best German player at that time. He'd already won a different tournament a week prior, although that one had a bit of a different rule set. His hero choices were Counter Bada and Justice Goenji. We started really well into the match, with the first focus battle of the game going to us. We immediately counter with a triple boost from Hakuryu, from all the way deep in his half. His Kinako can't react in time, giving us some free damage right off the bat. We win a scramble here, but Glass immediately takes the ball back with a tackle, risking his justice early in the first half. He does get it back though, but his only option here is to pass it, since he can't win against Kinako and his butt up was offside. We take back the ball with another scramble win, start a counter-attack that sadly leads to nothing. The last attack in the first half belongs to Glass once again. He gives it over to his butt-up, who just goes for goal with 2400 of AT, not counting his elemental advantage. Soon after the half is over, we start really good into the second half, once again with an early focus battle win from Hakuryu. We activate the zone, and we're right in there. Now all we gotta do is give it to Sakurazaki, as players are blocking the pathway, especially Kinako. We we decide to give it over to Tenma in the end, and play it in for Sakurazaki. He moves his Ganda out in an attempt to intercept the ball, but it's not enough. With that, we go up 1-0 once again. In the middle of the second half, his Genda plays a horrible pass. We intercept it with the Hakuryu that we've drawn back all the way from attack. We immediately fire off a triple boost, by passing all defenders once again, and this time not only damaging the goalkeeper, but scoring the second goal, giving us a 2-goal lead over Glass. Unfortunately, not long after that is where the game ends. In the matchup of Sakurazaki against Kirino, we bypass with Burning Overdrive, and this is where Glass forfeits the match. He doesn't believe he can come back from this, and he'd been tired out from playing several tournament matches the day before as well. So we move on to the winners bracket final against Skipper with a 2-0 victory. This match would guarantee a spot in the grand finals of the tournament. Skipper's playing Attention and Oharu as his only hero, but he's got counter heroes on the bench to switch up his playing style. He's also the only Austrian player in this tournament, since it was open to all German-speaking folks. We start off well with some pass work once again, before giving it over to Badab for some really nice damage with the Death Spear early on. With his goalkeeper being low on tension, we intercept a pass outside from the focus battle here. We immediately fire off a Death Spear with Shindo. From deep in the half, Skipper at this point doesn't have any tension since he just passed away from a focus battle, leading to us scoring the 1-0. Soon after the first half ends, or does it, we break past his Tenma with Hakuryu, giving it over to Badab. We fire off another Death Spear in the 30th minute already, dealing some more considerable damage to his Chaos just at the end of the halftime, and also forcing him to just suck it up because he doesn't want to waste tension at this point. At halftime, Skipper substitutes Sakuma for Yukimura, But we start off strong into the second half. With the cavalry advance, we play a long pass onto our Kuryu, scoring the 2-0 in the first leg. This is where Skipper is in a bit of trouble. He's just lost Justice once again with the power charge. Badab absolutely jukes So-So over. And now Death Spear is here to fire right on goal. His Chaos is powerless, only at 800 KP and at an elemental disadvantage. And we score the 3-0 in this first leg. We could have had a fourth, but Skipper actually fouls us late into the second half. Penalties in this game, unfortunately, are a challenge, so he just takes no damage at all, and the first leg ends with a 3-0 to us. The second leg was going to be a lot more difficult. He's placed Sakuma in the starting lineup right away, starting off the game with an atomic spin right away into our Chaos. We counter with a Flame Fortress to increase our keeper points and a Penguin in the hand, but we still don't get away without taking a chunk of damage. Skipper kept pushing, putting more and more pressure onto our defenders. How to bypass this Kirino in the zone here, giving him a free chance for a shot on goal. Our keeper is very low on KP in the first place. We don't have any tension left, so Skipper actually catches up by 1 goal, making the overall score 3-1 to us. In the second half, he substitutes Endo and Yukimura, Chaos and Yukimura for Endo and Badab, bringing on more wood-type players to harm our wind-type goalkeeper. His atomic spin with an elemental catalyst early into the second half is enough to score. The elemental catalyst buffs his elemental advantage from 20% onto 40%, bringing him to enough strength to bypass our Penguin in the hand. The score was now 3-2, everything was left to play for as the match went back and forth. We went into the zone and play a long ball onto our Kuryu. He's free on goal and delivers a magnificent bicycle kick right through Endo, giving us the 4-2 and bringing some distance to the score once again. Our defense stays tight, and near the end of the match we have one last chance. We enter the zone with Hakuryu, but we don't have any tension left, so we just go for a normal shot. Endo saves it using Omega Hanji 3. But the match is soon over after this. With less than a minute to play, he's got nothing to do but to send his regards, as we win the Winners Bracket final with a 4-2 and move on to the first Grand Final. Our opponent for the Grand Final was a Spanish-German player, Legendary Ad. He's made his way through the Losers Bracket, all the way back into the Grand Final. So, let's get into the match. He starts off really strong, but we get a Hakuryu in once again, just like against Glass. So we fire off a triple boost immediately to go right onto goal and do some first bit of chip damage. We intercept another pass here, but the ball doesn't quite find Butter. We give it back to Hakuryu, who's up against Kabeyama now. We actually pass and enter the zone, going right for goal with Hakuryu. The White Hurricane comes flying towards Legendary Ad's goal. Giving us the 1-0 lead in this Grand Final. He comes in immediately the same way. An Elemental Catalyst on Bada breaks into our zone. With that boosted type advantage, he just fires off a Death Ray, gaining enough power to be able to overwhelm our goalkeeper with the additional 40% he gains from the elemental advantage. It's not worth even trying to defend this, so I just let it score, tying the score to 1-1. We follow off doing the same thing. We activate Elemental Catalyst to win a focus battle, and then fire off a Death Break onto Endo's goal. We don't have an elemental advantage, but our raw shot power alone is enough to bypass his Endo, giving us a second goal and the lead in this Grand Final once again. Near the end of the first half, he gets another good attack in. It's already the 31st minute. This Gazelle gets the ball, firing off another Death Ray, right onto Chaos. That ends the half. Our goalkeeper is heavily damaged, but we are still in the lead. The second half starts in a similar manner though. He uses another Elemental Catalyst Awakening to bypass our Kirino in a focus battle, then immediately shoots with Northern Impact off Gazelle, going right for goal. We don't have any tension left to use, and no Keeper's Grid that can save us. So we concede the 2-2, tying the score once more. We get the ball once again, and we're in a pretty promising situation. Looking back, I should have just fired it off with Hakuryu. We give it over to Badab and take too long, so we end up not scoring, ending the first leg with a 2-2 tie. In the second leg, we immediately go into offense. We activate Cavalry Advance and give the ball over to Hakuryu, who shoots with White Hurricane off the bat once again. He counters with the Sacred Embrace, managing to stop the shot for now and still survive on a bit more than 800 KP. We move forward with Hakuryu on the wing now, but we don't have any tension, so we just fire off a quick shot for some more damage. It's still early in the first half, and we keep forcing him to use tension, even though he gains a lot of hypertension from all of these goalkeeper moves. That hypertension he puts to good use. He uses Elemental Catalyst again to break through Soso on his right wing and our left side. He's free in front of Chaos, and can just get some free chip damage in here. Even getting a breach. He continues his assault. With our Chaos being low HP, he fires off another Death Spear right on goal. We don't have any tension to block the shot, so once again, the score is tied at 3-3. First half is practically over with this. So far, we've gone up 3 times and conceded 3 times. And that pattern was one that Legendary Ad wanted to change. Gives it back over to Bada for a good shot. Getting some good damage in right at the start of the second half. His Sakurazaki spins Chaos now, dodging the tackle. I'm assuming a pass onto Bada, obviously, but this time he goes straight for goal, completely catching me off guard. Since we don't have any tension, for the first time in this grand final, Legendary Ad goes up against us. It's 4-3 to him. Near the end of the game, we break through with Maya one last time. It's the 25th minute. We immediately give it over to Hakuryu and just go for a chip shot, but he still gets a wall there, so it's not enough to score, and the time's running out. In a last-ditch effort, we use Particle Accelerator with Shindo. It beats Kageno's Power Charge. And for me, it only left one thing to do here. Give the ball onto Sakurazaki, and just do the same thing he did, shooting. Or would I? The answer is I would not. I decide to risk it, assuming he doesn't have any tension given he didn't use a dribble, and shooting the ball with Hakuryu right through the castle wall in the 30th minute of the game, tying the game for a 2-2 once more. We were now tied at 4-4, but the matches were over. That means a decider needed to happen. For that, a golden goal will be played. First to score wins. This golden goal did not take long. We start with the kickoff and are immediately forced to use some tension. We move up, activating Cavalry Advance. we still lose out to Shindo, using Overnight Fortress to get the ball from us. We power charge through, but even that's not enough. We go into the zone, but are immediately caught off by Jin. He now still has a ton of tension, while we're kind of at a loss for it. His counter passives also come in, and he's willing to use all of those. He gives it onto Gazelle with some really quick passes, and now all he needs to do is shoot one Death Break over to Bada, which is also what he does. Getting that first shot in, we're unable to defend, our defender's too far away, and with a second Death Break, he goes on to score, completely annihilating our chaos. For the first time in the tournament, we had lost. The 5-4 going to Legendary End. But this wasn't the end. So, after having lost for the first time in the tournament, this is where it got real. Both me and Legendary Ed still had one life left, which means there was one more match to play to decide the final winner. This was what it all came down to. 3 days worth of playing matches. About 50 minutes worth of match highlights that you've seen so far. And it's all gonna be decided the very next match, so let's go. So this is it. The last game of the tournament. The actual grand final. Each of us only had one life left. So this is where it mattered the most. We immediately pull up a cavalry advance to deal with his sideline spears. Just like in the first match, we defend immediately and fire off a triple boost from our own half with Hakuryu. I mean, a bit of free chip damage never hurt, especially if it was this much, given that we also had an elemental advantage over his Endo. He went for a Sacred Embrace, which might have been the biggest misplay in this grand final, giving us a second elemental advantage, and leaving his goalkeeper on only 30 KP. We've also switched to Gandalf for this match, but we weren't able to intercept this pass just yet. With the Beast Fang, we were still able to take care of his Badam though, who has arguably been his most dangerous and by far the best player he'd used against us in the match prior. In the end of the first half, he got another attack in. The Sakurazaki was clean through on goal, going for a Spring Thunderclap, seemingly unstoppable. With 2000 AT he shot on goal, with a type advantage as well. So we just did our most, using Beast Fang G3 to just barely shut him out and living into the halftime with 500 KP. The second half started better. His goalkeeper was still on 30 KP, so we just used a chip shot to get the second shot of the game in, and scoring our first goal. The Sakurazaki we used in this match did some work as well. After summoning a Mate Griffon with Shinjami to win a focus battle, we immediately give it onto him, firing a Spring Thunderclap right on goal, just like he did before halftime. This already was enough to deal a lot of damage, even if his Sacred Embrace was able to take care of a lot of it. This is where our Hakuryu comes in clutch once more. With enough hypertension left due to using Shunrai, we're able to get the ball from his defender using the Miximax. We immediately enter the zone and just go for goal. His Kabiyama is not there in time, and we score the 2-0. The second goal of this grand final, for the first time against him going up with more than one goal. During all of this, our goalkeeper was still on very low HP. Our goalkeeper's been on the 500 we left off at the halftime, but we haven't conceded a single shot on target in this half. I passed it back for the last attack in this first game, firing off a death spear in hopes of scoring. The power seemed enough, but unfortunately Legendary Ed had enough tension to use another Sacred Embrace. However, that was the end of the match, granting us a 2-0 victory in the first leg of the decider. The second match was only going to be just as difficult. A butt up in midfield and a Justice Goenji up front. We once again brought in Genda as a goalkeeper and Sakurazaki as a striker. The start is similar to pretty much every match. We got the ball with Maya, and this time shoot with Legendary Wolf. Not with Hakuryu, so the shot isn't nearly as strong, but still enough to send a first sign, and a first bit of damage. Not much later, we're able to catch his Kabiyama off guard. Look at the positioning of his players. They're all spread out. In front of us is a Hakuryu with a free path onto goal. We send the ball through to him and enter the zone for some more free damage. We give the ball to Hakuryu once more here, going into the zone and immediately clicking White Hurricane. We already had enough shot AT anyways, but I wanted to make sure that not even a Sacred Embrace can save him from this mess. With the type advantage on hand and Hakuryu's powerful shot, we scored for a third time, going up 3-0 in the final match of the tournament. But it obviously didn't stay there. Just before half-time, we fired off an insanely strong chain shot of Sakurazaki and Hakuryu. 3,000 bundled power went towards this goalkeeper, but with the keeper's grid, he was barely able to keep it out. This goalkeeper was once again down to less than 1,000 KP before halftime. He switched out Endo in the second half, swapping him for Chaos to combat the Sakurazaki we had. But we reply by switching in butt up after having our Hakuryu being positioned offside. A long ball onto Shindo was meant to bring salvation. We shoot it, but he actually gets a block in and tries to counter in the same way. And then we got a throw-in. There were only 7 minutes more to go. We were still 3-0 up with no goal being scored. I found the way to pass on to Tenma. We immediately went into the zone, and I just spammed the buttons, hoping to get the ball over to Bada. An evolution fired through Legendary Ad's penalty area. 1780, furthermore enhanced by Butter to 3200. His goalkeeper was beaten. For a fourth time in this grand final, we bypassed his goalkeeper, scoring the 4-0. And that was the end. We actually won the match 4-0. We'd done it. We had won the tournament. So there's your answer. That is how I became Germany's #1 Victory Road player. I will put in the entire tournament tree here once again for you to see all the matches that we went through. Once again, thank you everyone that watched up until this point, or even just a small portion of the video. And I'm hoping you like this style of video. Let me know what you think, because this was probably the most work-intensive project of my life. I've had to cut 3 hours of raw gameplay footage together, then edit it on top of it and all of that. But I think the final product came out alright. I'm hoping you agree. So yeah, that's it for the video. Thank you everyone for watching. Happy holidays to those of you that celebrate and those of you that don't celebrate. I hope you have an amazing time. And that's it from this video. Thank you everyone for watching, and I'll hopefully see you all again in the very next video. Peace! Oh yeah, and I also won this tournament from my clan with the exact same team. Peace!